face. They hate me for my fam. Now they hating on my faith. But they made me what I am. They hate me cause of Trump. What they gotta do with this? But it really go to show that everybody hate Chris. Think you know who I supported? Biden or Trump or debate I avoided. My vote this election I never reported. Cause Jesus, my family, my job was important. Now I'm trending on Twitter, all because some actors chose to be bitter. Refused to fulfill my role as an avenger for Biden's campaign, so they say I'm a quitter. I don't bother with the hurt say. I'm not involved in politics in the first place. But if you really want to talk about a story, then you really need to worry about Hunter and his drug face. Cause I heard what they found on that hard drive when I've been chilling, getting busy on the par 5. Going fishing, tending to my farm, live a very simple life, and they still give me a hard time. What's crazy is it started all randomly, attacking who I am and my belief in Christianity. I pray to God that he helped me with my sanity, cause every single day I'm losing faith in humanity. Making my wifey go crazy and act up. Robin and Marka, I appreciate the backup. If discontinue, I may need to pack up my life as I know it, then lead till they slack up. And since my church is conservative, now they hating on the way that I prefer to live. Calling me a supremacist, quite interpretive. I swear I do the most with emphasis on the superlative. I became a target for your hate. This won't only happen when you're great. Guess I consider my fate. In the end though, I'ma be straight. Everybody hate Chris. Everybody hate Chris. Everybody hate Chris. Everybody hate Chris. They hating on my face. They hate me for my fam. Now they hating on my faith. But they made me what I am. They hate me cause of Trump. What they gotta do with this? But it really go to show that everybody hate Chris.
I'll circle back if there's more I can share with you. I'll circle back with you if there's more to convey. I'll have to just circle back with you. We can circle back with him. I'm happy to circle back with you. I can circle back. I'll have to.
It's pretty obvious we all know you're pretending. You have no actual facts for the lies that you're defending. Conservatives not the only ones who find it condescending. The real reason you circle back is cause you know it's never ending. Round and round and round you go, dancing like a puppet show. Just a simple yes or no. Thousands watching wanna know the truth. I guess there's too much to ask. Like why Biden was at the Lincoln Memorial without a mask, huh? Can't believe what I'm seeing now. Got everyone thinking now. Just how much you get paid. Only just to hear you say.
We'll circle back with you.
Circle back.
I'll have to just circle back with you.
Circle back.
I'm happy to circle back.
Circle back. Only just to hear you say. In the beginning, we tried giving you a chance, but it seems intimidating if reporters start raising hands. Is it better if we send you the questions far in advance? Honestly, all we really want is answers about your mans. Cause the fence around the Capitol means it's for securing borders. With Harriet Tubman on the 20, who can we expect on quarters? If Trump decided to sign this many executive orders, will you consider him a dictator or truly support it? We wanna know. Can't believe what I'm seeing now. Got everyone thinking now. Just how much you get paid. Only just to hear you say.
We'll circle back with you.
Circle back.
I'll have to just circle back with you.
Circle back.
I'm happy to circle back.
Circle back. Only just to hear you say. Alright, Jensage, you're the blunt of the joke. But this message for anybody I see still fake woke. We see the strings of the vision that you all constantly stroke. And the fist full of propaganda you shove down our throats. Boy, I miss the days when we used to have Kaylee Mack. When they rapid fire questions, she would counterattack. How does the...
Alright, we rocking? There you go. Okay, intro's going right now. So just give us a second.
Scroll down to intro and see if it's playing. Oh, it's just not on monitor. It's playing. Welcome to Plausible Foolishness. We are the two kings of the Rube Empire. I am the mad scientist, Matt, philosopher king, and I've got a perspective on things.
What you gonna do, brother? What's going on? It is the strong one, a.k.a. the Iron King, Big Ray, in the house. Plausible Foolishness, episode 159. This is going to be the greatest episode that has ever happened in the history of Plausible Foolishness. And there's two reasons why. Reason number one, are we contractually obligated to talk about this guy?
No.
You better believe you are.
Wait, hold on.
No, we're the kings. But
we will acknowledge his presence for right now, and it's... Dusty is in the house. What's up, Dusty? How are you doing today, man? You good?
I'm doing good.
You good?
I'm doing real good.
But
I'm here
guess
on
what?
the show.
Silence, Dusty! Too much! But the real reason it's going to be
Never
amazing
learns.
today, the real reason is coming, and you can see his beautiful, beautiful face on the show right now. Big Bart's in the house, rocking and rolling with us today on Plausible Foolishness. The episode is poignantly called Bad Boys, What you gonna do, brother? Sorry, I had to put the Hogan mix on it. I had to put the Hogan mix on the end there, you know what I mean, just to mix it up. But, my goodness, welcome to Plausible Foolishness. Bart, I'm excited for you, but I gotta let the people know, because we gotta pay the bills and let these guys know what it's all about here. Please, can you indulge us, King, and,
Yes.
and let us know what this show's all about, so people know what the heck's going on before we get started, man.
what our show is all
Yeah,
about?
what our show...
Well, I think you're talking about the nation that we represent.
I mean,
The Rube Empire.
clearly.
So, we are the Rube Empire. Come join us. Become
Come.
a citizen. Because not only are the people free,
People are free. We're free here.
and the taxes are voluntary,
Voluntary taxes.
unless you're Dusty.
Then I pay them religiously.
Religiously. Silence!
Hey, I
But
pay
we
for that.
serve. But we serve freshly roasted liberal logic
Oh, man.
every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on twitch.tv/plausiblepoolishness, YouTube, Facebook Live, and anywhere you can get a podcast.
First of all, that was the best Eli Drake impersonation I've ever seen you do.
Oh, thank
You're
you.
getting amazing at that,
I
man.
try.
Plausible Foolishness. Boom. I love it. Fires me up. I'm excited. We're everywhere at twitch.tv/plausiblepoolishness. We are everywhere. But I got to get into this today because there's so much to talk about, and it's poignant timing in America. We had a little bit of craziness last week, and it's kind of calmed down a little bit. I feel that it's calmed down a little bit. I could be wrong. I do have the pulse of the people. Okay, you are the king that rules administratively. I'm with the common clay. You feel me?
Mm.
But I wanted to bring on the man, the myth, the legend.
I'm the ivory tower. and
You're the
you're
ivory
common
tower.
clay.
I'm down with the common people, bro.
6'9", oh so fine.
6'9",
Yes, the ivory tower.
6'9", oh Phil fun. He's 6'9", which is
I
crazy.
think that's my new nickname, the ivory tower.
The ivory tower, 6'9", oh so fine. I like that. But the mad scientist, listen, we had to bring on Big Bart because Bart is the man, the myth, the legend. Just to preface, Bart is a law enforcement officer here in the great state of Florida, has an amazing perspective on things, and we wanted to cue it up. And Bart, give them as much info as they can and give a little introduction to you, and we'll get rocking and rolling, man. Bart, who are you, brother?
Well, I started out in the private industry. I've got about 10 years experience of working with people, dealing with the public, and after that, I decided to make a change and go into law enforcement.
Nice.
I've been in law enforcement for about 10 years now. I've done quite a bit of things in law enforcement. I was on a SWAT team. I was a DUI instructor. About 5 years in criminal investigations as a detective. So that's the short version. So.
Nice. So tell me a little bit, private sector, what made you want to become a police officer? What made you want to get into that profession?
It's just something I always wanted to do. Ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to go into law enforcement, and at a younger age, just didn't work out for me, so I went other avenues. I was always in leadership roles, and so I just went with it, but I just still had that emptiness in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And late 20s, I realized what it was. I saw a group of officers one day where I was working, and they were just all, chatting, having a good time. And it really opened up my eyes, and I saw it, and I was like, that's what I need to be doing. That's where I need to be. That's what's missing in my life.
Nice.
So I made the career choice right then.
So you didn't get into it because you wanted to oppress black people?
No, I mean I've seen
What?
CNN.
I've
mean,
seen CNN.
I know apparently my unconscious bias tells me that's what I got into it for. But no, I actually enjoy making a difference and helping people.
Wait, you like helping people?
Yeah, it's a good thing. You know, I
like
did it
helping
before I
people
was a
too.
cop, and I'll do it after I'm a cop.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, first of all, I want to say on behalf of the show, thank you for serving us and serving the community of Florida. We appreciate you for doing that, and that's why we really wanted to bring you on the show today, because there's such a false perspective out there right now, and I think that a lot of times with most of these conversations, because the left is always talking about, well, we got to have a conversation, right? We got to have a conversation, and most people don't want to actually have that conversation, and that's why I wanted you on the show, because you came by my house the other day. We had an amazing conversation. I was sitting there blown away. My mind was flipped on a few things. It made me think about a lot of things, and that's why I wanted to bring you on the show today. But
Speaking of conversations, I want to have a conversation saying welcome Odie Cody to the Rube Empire, and thank you Dusty for paying your involuntary tax.
yes, gotcha. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate it. Hey, listen, we got to pay the bills, man. We got to pay the bills. Now, here's the beautiful
No, I
thing.
have to pay the bills.
First of all, Odie Cody jumped on too, bro.
I know.
Yeah. What are you scared because Odie Cody's putting more money up than you right now, or is it a tie right now?
No, Odie Cody is.
Okay, fine. I'll let it.
I know him.
Okay, that's fine. We'll let Odie Cody float. Well, welcome, brother. So we're told all the time, every single day now, because growing up, when you were a little kid, being a cop was an amazing profession, right? Everybody was like,
It
"Hey, I
still
want to."
is.
Yeah, well, it still is. I mean,
My youngest, that's all he talks about. That's all he wants to do. He
Yeah.
actually carries around a little badge.
yeah. But like every little boy, like think about it. They're like, "Hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Firefighter, police officer, astronaut." You know what I mean? Everybody, like, those are the things people want to aspire to be. And it seems like nowadays, more and more, we're trying to tear that down. We're trying to rip that apart. And we put this nebulous idea of cops out there in the world, and we put them all in this box. And the reality is, 90% of the people that are making those statements don't actually know a police officer on a regular basis. You know what I mean? So, have you experienced that? Have you run into that? You know, especially in the climate of 2021. You know, being in law enforcement here in Florida, what's been your experience, and what have you seen?
That's a very broad question, and that takes me down a lot of roads.
Take whatever road you want, brother.
There's a lot of them. But yes, I have seen firsthand. I've seen a lot of things. You know, you go into neighborhoods, and a lot of times the kids absolutely, love to see cops, and they love that. But I have gone into some communities where I've literally had a 3-year-old come up to me and ask, "Are you going to shoot my daddy?"
Oh.
Where are they learning that? They learn that from their parents. Their parents are telling their kids, the police are going to shoot you. And I mean, so one struggle is getting past that. You have children that are being taught in their homes that the police are bad. When I was young and growing up, we were taught police were good. And so when you have that value and you have that in your life, that you are naturally trusting of law enforcement, and you kind of build them up to be that kind of hero when you're a kid. But unfortunately, you have some environments where they're teaching the exact opposite.
Yeah.
So
what? I mean, my question is this. I mean, it's not even parents now. It's apparently teachers now. We talked about it a little bit on the show, but the newest, most ridiculous video.
Karen.
The
newest Karen.
The newest
Yes.
Karen alert. A teacher of the black skin tone. I can say that. But
not just teacher, professor.
Yeah, a professor, right?
Yeah.
Was she really a professor?
Yes, she was
Oh
an
my-
adjunct professor at a university.
Okay, so even better.
That,
Of course.
What
that makes
was?
it just
Key word here was an adjunct
Was, yeah,
professor
yeah,
at a
sure.
university.
But we get a video of her getting pulled over for using her phone while driving. Immediately sets the tone for the conversation of calling the law enforcement officer a murderer, and then proceeds to call him a Mexican murderer, and then proceeds to tell him that he wants to be white in front of his supervisor, who he had called in for the conversation. And that's what's terrifying to me. Is not only that, didn't she have her son in the car too when that was
Yes.
going on? So
Yeah.
this message is getting spread, and she's sitting there telling her son like how evil cops are.
Mhm.
Eh, What's your reaction to stuff like that? I mean, because is that common? Do you see that a lot
It's
in the force?
it's not common. It's not
Okay, praise
common to
God.
see that. You do see people with somewhat bad attitudes, but to the level that she displayed, it's not that common. It's becoming more prevalent because of what people are being
Because
brainwashed to
Well,
believe.
this gives her, I mean, whether or not she was an adjunct professor, this gives her cultural collateral. You know, she's a hero amongst some now.
Yes, absolutely.
You know?
And realistically, it is a smaller percentage of people that are cheering her on.
True.
That number is getting bigger, unfortunately. But one way we get past that is through education, which is one reason what me and Ray talked about. Why I wanted to come here, why I wanted to actually get some information out there, because I feel like educating the public is the most important thing. If you don't know anything about law enforcement, your brain will make assumptions based on what you've seen on TV.
Yeah.
Okay? I know this for a fact because every single person that you arrest when they get to the jail, they're like, oh, you know, this arrest is invalid because you didn't read me Miranda. And it's like, bro, that's not what the Miranda warning is. You know, there's a certain criteria. So where are they getting that? They're getting that from TV because they see, you know, you have the right to remain silent every time somebody gets arrested on TV. Well, that's not real life, but people assume it is. And so that's what you're having to put up with, is people make assumptions based off of what they think they know versus what actually goes on in the real world. And so education and getting that information out there is crucial at a time like this.
That's part of the reason why I was so upset when they canceled Cops and pretty much all police shows, is because those shows were out there showing real people doing real policing in the right way, and they just said, no, we can't have that. So all we get is this fictitious, fake Hollywood style.
Yeah. And they took out Chase from what is it? What's that kids show? Paw Patrol, man. Took out freaking Paw Patrol, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
So stupid.
So what do you think the number one misconception is of law enforcement? Like immediately, you know, like 99% of people get this wrong about law enforcement. What do you see?
You know, I think I'm going to jump to the perception that most people will get wrong, but it's only a small percentage of time, and that would be use of force.
Okay.
And a lot of people get that wrong because they just don't understand it. They don't understand how it works. Basically, across this country, law enforcement uses the +1 use of force model, which means I'm going to go one step higher than you. So if you're bracing up, then I'm going to go hands-on. Even though you haven't gone hands-on with me, I'm going to go hands-on with you. And so we try to take it one step above what we're being presented with. And the ultimate goal of doing it that way is so we don't advance 3 steps. Okay? Because the guy that's bracing, if I take him to the ground and put him in handcuffs, okay, now he's not throwing a punch. But if I wait, now we're in a fight. And now what happens? Now I might tase him. Now he might get pepper sprayed. You know, that all can be avoided if you just address it sooner. And so we'll get into this probably later in the show, but when we're talking about use of force. But that's the biggest issue that I see, and it's also a perception issue, which again we'll probably get into later.
Yeah. But I mean, but people just comply all the time, right? I mean, there's no bad people in the world ever that you have to run across or deal with ever that are violent.
Oh, please, sir, works so well in law enforcement. Please, sir. Yes, or ma'am.
Yeah,
or they, or it, or whatever they prefer.
I saw something prosed in the UK where they have to get like consent before arresting people or something crazy like that. And I'm sitting there like, are you kidding me, man? Like,
I mean, I do not consent.
But like normal, like in normal world, like this is what always blows my mind about this, right? I'm not a police officer, but I can imagine, right? We can all imagine at some level. But even growing up, like how many dip crap people did you have to deal with on a regular basis? Like most people growing up got in some form of a fight at some point in their life. At some point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like sin is sin, right? The original sin, we're all sinful, we're all wrong. violence is part of that game. Like it just is, and I went to a small Christian school. It was not immune from fisticuffs. You know what I mean? It happened. Like it's going to go down. So accelerate that with adult human beings with access to things that can really do damage. You're going to run into some idiots that you have to put your hands on. So like I for me, when you say that, like I think that all the time. Like the thing that drives me up a wall, and it probably drives you guys up a wall with law enforcement, it's like, oh well, they should have shot his leg, or they should have tasered him, or they should have used.
This is from a person who's never shot a weapon.
Yes.
And has only seen movies.
Yeah, he should have kung fu chopped him on the neck to knock him out. Like, bro, you know what I mean? Like,
Vulcan
more
neck
importantly,
pinch him.
Yeah.
Vulcan neck pinch him.
it's May the 5th, okay, not Star Trek time, okay, bro, chill
No,
out.
it's Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo.
Get it right.
I mean, it's so easy to shoot somebody in the leg, right? It's so easy to tase somebody, right, Bart?
Of course it is. Of course it is.
And all
Absolutely.
police officers are marksman shooters.
Yes. And there's no such thing as adrenaline in a law enforcement officer's body. I mean, there's no such thing as stress.
And a
We are
taser works
perfectly
100%
stress
of
free
the time.
100% of the time on 100% of the. What other unicorn and rainbow fairy dust are we blowing in this conversation?
100%, man. No, so we got to get into it because it's just there's so many cases out there right now that are just crazy. It's like when you're talking about the +1, like I think of the recent one where the lady cop said she had a taser, had a gun instead. Okay,
Grabbed
right.
the wrong.
Yes.
I forget what case that was, but the reality is this. To me, when I looked at that police cam video, and we'll probably get into police cam video for sure on the show, but I'm watching situations like that. And you talk about +1, I still look at that situation, taser or gun. What was expected to happen in that case? The kid's compliant. The moment that the kind of the custody of the kid shifts to someone else, he makes a move, darts after
to the woman.
yeah,
Shifts to
towards
the
yeah.
The female cop who's much smaller than the.
I mean,
the previous guy.
what's she supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like, do a Trinity from the Matrix and like kick him in the face?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
And where was he going?
Well,
Straight to the car.
Yeah.
To use a weapon.
in use of force, in these situations, it's all about articulation and what's going on. Perfect example, if you've got a 5 foot tall, 90-pound cop, and they're arresting you, Ray, obviously a bigger guy, okay, and they go to arrest you, and you pick the car up and move it out of the way to go for them, and you can get your hands on them, okay?
Yeah.
Now, at that point, yes, you could articulate, that's why I shot him.
Sure.
He had his hands on me, and he had already picked up a Geo Metro and threw it up on the sidewalk. Obviously, the guy is strong.
Like Michael
but in
Brown.
the same sense, in the same sense, you have, let's say you have a 6'9" police officer,
Sure.
and a little 5'0" suspect puts his hands on 6'9" Ivory Tower. Yeah, not the same thing.
Yeah.
You're not going to get away with that use of force encounter by shooting them.
Sure.
So each situation is so fluid and it's so different based on. In all of law enforcement, you will hear the same term thrown out there, and it's the totality of the circumstances.
Sure.
And basically, what that means is every fact available at the time that brought you to the decision you made.
Yeah.
Which is every shooting you have.
And now we have
basically.
2 courts that will try you. Court of public opinion and the actual court. And I think this is the first time ever that we've had the court of public opinion outweigh the actual court and
it's very
influence the
scary.
court.
Yeah. So back to what you were saying. I mean, every available tool that's out there. Like, what are your thoughts on body cams? I mean, because obviously,
Love them.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Love them.
Is that common amongst your?
No, not really. And here's the thing with body cams. If body cams are used to target people, okay, for example, if I'm going to a call and I'm about to show up on scene, I'm going to take my seatbelt off. It's an officer safety thing, and if I get there and somebody's shooting, I need to be able to get out of the car quickly. So it's little things like that. So if a supervisor's reviewing my video and my policy says I have to wear a seatbelt, and now I've got body cam footage showing me driving without a seatbelt, if they're writing me up for not wearing a seatbelt, but the reason I wasn't wearing my seatbelt is because I was about to get out of the car, that's why people hate body cams.
Okay.
Not every agency's like that. Not every supervisor's like that. Everybody's kind of afraid that it's going to be a tool used against them.
Okay.
And so that's just a natural fear of anybody. You
Sure.
take any job. I don't care if you're a secretary. I don't care if you work at a grocery store. Do you really want a camera on you 24/7 watching everything you do?
Not even close.
I mean, you're going to make a mistake.
I mean, I do most of my business
So
without my
that
pants
part-
off, so I understand.
Absolutely.
I really don't want a
what?
camera on you.
We're not supposed to. We're not supposed to be wearing pants right now.
Yeah,
right?
no pants.
Anyways,
No,
but yeah, body cams, and most agencies will tell you this. Once the agency starts wearing body cameras, their complaints drop drastically. Because what will happen is somebody will show up to make a complaint, and they'll say, "Oh, we're going to go review the body camera. We'll be right back." And the person's like, "Wait, there was a body camera?
Oops.
Yeah, I don't want to file a complaint. I just wanted y'all to know," and they leave.
Yeah.
So body cameras actually do stop a lot of things.
Yeah.
Body cameras give you a different view of things.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's like the
personally,
Yeah, and I feel like that would be natural. If you're in this line of duty, you want as much transparency as possible, because then nobody can pull this crap on you. They can't do this stuff to you. With the whole Micaiah Brown thing, psychotic 16-year-old girl goes to try to knife another black girl. Hey, what do you do? I mean, you're going to do exactly what that
You
cop
don't.
did. And every person...
And save a life.
Yeah, and every person that's seen that body cam film, and thank God Columbus PD was smart enough to put that out immediately to the public so people could see.
Absolutely.
He did exactly what he was supposed to do. What are you complaining about?
Absolutely.
And then conversely, we, the public, have a means now for accountability.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yep. One thing that a lot of the whole police reform movement, they want to put a civil board to review the body cameras and stuff, and I'm 100% against that.
Good.
I don't mind showing civilian boards things, but a civilian board, unless they've gone through the police academy, unless they've gone through extensive use of force training and fully understand the job, then they really can't see things in the correct light.
No.
It has nothing to
100%.
do. It has nothing to do with I'm a cop, so I want another cop reviewing that because we have a brotherhood and he's going to save me and he's going to lie for me. It's not about that.
No.
And so a lot of the activists, that's their mentality, is that
A lot of
all
the
cops
civilian boards
stick up for each other.
have never had a gun drawn on them. They've never had to deal with a high stress situation where it's life or death in an instant. They don't deal with stuff like that. They've never been trained in any of the procedures. They're just, let's watch this video. Essentially, they're watching YouTube. And
And another thing is, and Supreme Court's ever ruled on this too, when you're dealing with an incident like that, you can't Monday morning quarterback it. You have to look at the facts as they were at the time the incident occurred.
Yeah.
That's something that civilian world can't
Sure.
do. I mean, that's 100% the Derek Chauvin case, is everybody Monday morning quarterbacking without the facts,
Yeah.
without knowing everything. And most of the cases you look at, Mike Brown, girl in Louisville,
Yeah. About Breonna Taylor.
Taylor.
Yeah.
A lot of these cases, people are Monday morning quarterbacking the cases without
Sure.
knowing all the facts.
yeah.
Well, but the problem is and this is the issue, especially with Michael Brown. I wish, I wish he had a body cam. I wish that they would have released the film with Breonna Taylor, because you look at the police reports, especially on Michael Brown. Clearly, the guy is the police officer had a fractured skull. He's getting attacked by this dude.
Inside his car.
Yeah, inside a car. Michael Brown's a big boy coming after a cop reaching for a gun. You got Mike. The hands up, don't shoot dies immediately when you have that. With Breonna Taylor. My question to people are like, oh, she died in bed asleep. I'm like, that's weird because she's in the front door. She's right at the front door, the hallway door.
Yeah.
In the police report, behind the guy who's pulling the trigger. So, sorry, she got used as a human shield in a really bad situation. What are the cops supposed to do? Excuse me, ma'am, there's bullets coming. Can you please get out of the way?
Yeah.
And
We really need to shoot in that direction.
Yeah.
If you could just move.
we have a legal search warrant, And can you move, please? Like, come on, man. Like, and people don't take 3 seconds to look at this. And the same thing with the Chauvin deal, which I'm glad I want to talk about that clearly with you. It is, we talked about it on the show. It's like, at first look, they're like, oh, that looks bad. It does look bad, right? First look.
Mm-hmm.
But then a couple days
It
later,
looks horrible.
all of a sudden, oh yeah, the toxicology in fentanyl comes out, and then all of a sudden, a couple months later, we get the whole video of what transpired before those 8 minutes that were edited and doctored and so on and so forth.
And then we get the trial, and we get a third viewpoint where you see he wasn't on his neck at all, at least for part of the 8 minutes.
Yeah. But, I mean, I don't want to get you in trouble with the Chauvin deal, because I guess people are getting in trouble for
I'll talk about the Chauvin deal all day long.
Oh, then roll with it, baby. What do you think, man? Give us the inside, man. What do you think?
Well, and again, I'll start from the beginning on this. When I watched the video, I said the same thing. I was like, I was outraged. I was like, holy crap, that's bad. That's not good.
It really looks bad.
But then, fast forward a little bit. I start asking questions, because that's logically what you should do. I find out that what he's doing is actually an approved method that was taught in police academies not too long ago. And it's where you actually put a knee on the shoulder, not the neck. And then so I pulled up Minneapolis's use of force policy. And sure enough, as I'm looking in there, I see that is an approved method that you have to go through a special class. Not just anybody can do it. You have to go through a special training class. Once you've learned the proper technique, now you can utilize that technique. And so now at that point, I'm thinking, okay, he's within policy. He was doing an approved agency technique. And again, there's so many. I think it was Prince William or something. There's a video or a still picture from 2 angles.
Yes.
The one where he's holding up 3 fingers, and then if you look at it from the side, it looks like he's holding up his middle finger.
Yes.
That's about perception. And so now, again, with transparency, they should have released that body camera day one.
Yes.
The second they said that second the outcry was he was on his neck for 9 minutes. Okay. And then the second they saw the cell phone footage where it looks like he's on his neck for 9 minutes, they should have immediately addressed that. Day one. Hey, we're hearing this. Everybody's saying he was on his neck. He was not on his neck. Here's a view from the body camera, the officer's body camera. We can't show you much more than that, because we don't want to jeopardize the case. But we need to squash this, that he was on his neck, because he was not on his neck. If you kill that day one, it doesn't gain momentum.
Yep.
But they didn't.
It doesn't turn into tons and tons of riots.
Yes, now you have fueled the storm, because that's all a lot of these incidents is they're searching. Now, I'll get back on this same topic. I'll get back to a question you asked earlier about what we see in Florida, as far as all that's going on. In the past, you're talking the Ferguson incident, even Trayvon that happened in Sanford. We didn't see the riots in Orlando.
Yep.
All these things that happened across the country. Eric Garner in New York. There was riots across the country. We didn't have riots in Orlando. Now, starting with George Floyd, you see and you hear this talk about a certain 3 initial movement that I'm not going to say. Okay?
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's one side of people saying, they're activists fighting for a cause. And then the rest of the world that has common sense says, no, they're socialists trying to take over this government.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay? And everybody keeps saying, people like George Soros are funding things. Well, I'm here to tell you, as a Florida police officer, when all that talk was going on, now all of a sudden we see riots in Orlando. And we've never seen that.
Yep.
And there's a reason for that. The law enforcement officers in that part of the country, in Central Florida, they had a good relationship, as well as other parts in Florida. It's always been a good relationship with the public.
Yes.
And so that's what upsets people. When they see this in their community, that's when the community gets upset. Well, all of a sudden now there's an incident outside that's being fueled from somewhere else. So the things going on in specifically Central Florida that I've seen in bulletins and intel bulletins that I can't really talk about.
Sure.
This stuff is being fueled from the outside. And so a lot of these, I believe, are tests. I believe they sent out little test subjects like Chaz Chop in Seattle. There was like 5 of those that popped up, but only 1 caught traction. Why was that? It's feelers. putting out feelers to see what they can get away with and where they can get away with it.
Yep. It's crazy. So and if you say that to a normal sheeple, I call them, that's a conspiracy theory, right? It's a Soros isn't real. It's like,
That's the left's new attack.
Yeah.
If it doesn't fit my belief, it's got to be a conspiracy
theory. But and the thing too is what to tag on what you're saying. Where did this stuff actually take hold? Heavily Democrat run places. Minnesota is blue. Yeah, Chaz Chop happens in Seattle, right? Washington.
Mm-hmm. Portland.
They haven't seen a Republican ever. I don't think a Republican's ever migrated up there to that part of the country. You know what I mean? Like,
It's a shame. It's
Portland is a hellhole because there's nothing but lefties in Portland. I mean, just it is what it is. San Francisco. All of these places where these bad things are, quote unquote, bad things are happening, aren't happening here in Florida. Because I think my theory is always because Florida is basically a Jimmy Buffett concert 24/7. Like we're too inebriated to care what color you are. We just all have fun, and we're like, yo, Disney's right there. Why am I pissed off? Well, the beach is right there. Why am I pissed off at everything? Don't be an idiot. And thank God we gained a House seat. With the census and everything like that. So
We're still Florida man though.
So what? That's better than Chaz Chop.
Robbing gas stations with alligators. I mean, come on.
I am going to ask you that question later on. What's your favorite Florida man story you've seen in real life on the beat? But I would love
Okay. I actually have one, but I don't want to get away from the Chauvin case real quick.
Yep,
there is something
absolutely.
else that I do want to kind of touch on there.
Sure.
And especially now, with the conspiracy theory that one of the juror members was, supporting Black Lives Matter and
not conspiracy
was basically
anymore. Actual evidence.
Oh, it's conspiracy because I'm saying it. So, but no. Here's the thing. You're looking at he was guilty on a second-degree murder charge.
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me you have evidence to prove that Derek Chauvin wanted to kill George Floyd.
Yep.
Right.
Zero.
Yeah.
There is zero. I read George Floyd's autopsy. As a detective, I've had to read several autopsies. I'm not a doctor by any means, but I have read them before.
Yep.
I looked at his. And when this first happened, so there's so much to talk about here. When this first happened and I first saw the video, the first thing I said was, this looks like a case of excited delirium, which used to be known as cocaine psychosis. And the short version is it's where your body goes into an overdose, your internal temperature starts going up and it'll hit 105, 106. You basically start cooking on the inside, and that's why you act crazy. It's very common to see people in that state start taking clothes off because they're burning up, literally.
Yeah.
Normally, these people will die. Normally, they die in the custody of law enforcement because what happens when somebody gets crazy and starts acting crazy and breaking stuff? Law enforcement gets called. They get there. They see he's in a mental break, so they secure him to keep him from hurting himself or others. And then the person, without law enforcement contact, may or may not die anyways because they're going into an overdose. And this goes back to my movie thing. When you think of an overdose, what do you think of? A lot of people think of like Uma Thurman in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Going into a
Where
seizure.
she's passed out and seizure, drooling and stuff like that. Yes, that is one form of overdose. But what you don't see is the other form. You don't see on TV the excited delirium cases, where the guy has superhuman strength because he's cooking on the inside.
100%.
And then he literally dies. And so when I first saw the video, that was the first thing I said. Looks like this guy's excited delirium. And most agencies have policies to deal with that. Completely lost my train of thought.
You're good. You're in it, brother. It's excited delirium. Yeah.
So, but basically the George Floyd case, when you look at that, and then you see the autopsy. So, what are people saying? That his knee was on his neck for 9 minutes. Okay, you're gonna see trauma. You're gonna see bruising in the neck. You're gonna see the abrasions. Okay, because if you're pushing on somebody's neck hard enough, his whole weight was on this man.
Yep.
Is what everybody kept saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you put 200 pounds on another human, there's going to be a sign.
Yep.
Okay.
They're going to be broken bones.
And then on the inside, it's going to start busting blood vessels.
Yep.
Okay. And the most important thing I can tell you is that you're not going to be able to talk. You're not going to be able to say, I can't breathe. You're
Yep.
going to say, gurgle.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to cry out for your mama.
Yeah.
Okay. And getting back to like, what's one thing that a lot of people don't understand? A lot of people don't understand that as a cop, you have inevitably in your career heard multiple people tell you in handcuffs, I can't breathe.
Yep.
We call it jailitis in law enforcement. It's jailitis.
Jailitis.
The handcuffs go on, and all of a sudden, people can't breathe. They want their mama, and they need to go to the hospital.
Yep.
And it's jailitis. You take them to the hospital. Hospital checks them out, and even the nurses and ER doctors will know about it. But they still go through the process. They check the blood pressure. They check everything.
Yep.
Check them out. Make sure everything's okay. Then cut them loose,
Yep.
and we take them to jail. Every cop's heard that.
You got jailitis,
So
brother.
when you see the video as a citizen who's never heard that, it pulls at your heartstrings. You're like, I'm literally watching a murder in real life.
Yeah.
And that's not what's happening,
Yes.
in my opinion. Okay, but what people don't realize is I can't breathe. A common thing people say.
Yeah.
But could he breathe? Absolutely. If you can talk, you can breathe.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
There were no signs, his brain inside the cells, there was no signs whatsoever of trauma, which would be present in a strangulation case.
Yes.
So when you look at that, and you look at the autopsy, it had zero bearing whatsoever.
Yep.
And it's so funny, and this is what blows my mind about this case. And I know Derek Chauvin had a past
Sure.
that was not the best in the world. He may be a POS, don't really care.
Sure.
The point is, what's the evidence say?
Yep.
And when the state called their own people up there, and the own people said Derek's trauma to George Floyd was assisted in the death, and then they asked them, well, he had heart blockage, correct? And he had an enlarged heart, correct? So they asked them, if you didn't see the video, and all you saw was the heart blockage and the enlarged heart, would you say he died of cardiac arrest? Yes, I would say that. Okay. Then they asked him again, the amount of fentanyl that was in his system. If you didn't see the video, and all you saw was the fentanyl levels in his body, would you say he died of an overdose? Yes, I would.
Yep.
I am absolutely staggered at the fact that they're saying the evidence pointed them to a guilty conviction of second-degree murder, third-degree
Yeah.
and manslaughter.
Unbelievable.
And the state's own witnesses basically refuted the whole story.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that
And
doesn't
so
matter.
to me, like
Yes.
there was an overwhelming amount of evidence to show that Derek Chauvin had no cause whatsoever in his death, but they ran with it.
They were telling such a good story, though.
Yeah, hold on real quick. Hey, everybody that's on Clapper right now, there's a bunch of you over there on Clapper. Head over to twitch.tv/plausiblepoolishness. You got to hear gold. There is liquid gold literally pouring out of Bart's mouth right now. You got to head over to twitch.tv/plausiblepoolishness and hear this fun stuff and hear this from a police officer from the great state of Florida. So make sure you head over this way, man. But yeah, here's where it comes down to feelings and facts, right? They heard this amazing story for so long and so long and so long. What's amazing to me is a couple things. The trial happened in the same area that the actual incident happened. How do you get a fair trial in that case at all? How do you get that?
You don't. And here's the thing. And again, going back to transparency, I think law enforcement should present stuff like the video, the body cam video. A lot of agencies won't because they say they don't want to contaminate the jury and all that
Okay.
stuff. But you look at like the George Floyd case, you look at the O.J. Simpson case. Every person in the country knew about that case.
Yes.
But here's the thing. Ever since May of last year, okay, since the George Floyd incident, when I wake up and I go out and I drive to work, do you know what I don't see? I don't see buildings burning down.
Yeah.
I don't see just thousands of people in the roadway. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't see that.
Yeah.
I see stuff on news. I know what's going on, but I don't see the businesses that are going out of business. I don't personally know an owner of a store that has had to shut down because of the rioting. So in a situation like that, is that jury, I mean, they are living in that area. They are seeing the effects of these riots. They are seeing the effects of what's going on. They are feeling that emotion. And when you're in an emotional state, you cannot make a rational decision.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you move that case to the other side of the state, they're still going to have the same information, but what they're not going to have is they're not going to see that riot firsthand. They're not going to be impacted firsthand like the people on that jury were.
Yep.
And so to me, that's the problem I have with them not moving the venue.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of different things, but my personal opinion is it was tried in the court of public opinion, and it was so affected everyone in that area that there was no other outcome that could have happened from that area. And the only way that they could have had a fair trial is if they moved it from that area, and they didn't. And then they had senators, presidents chiming in on this thing during the court case. You don't think that doesn't affect the outcome?
Leading to a decision that's absurd, like
with a jury that's not sequestered.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. It was a recipe for it was a crucifixion.
So
it was a crucifixion.
So at the end of it, it was one of those things where they got the guilty verdict that they wanted, just to divert attention away. Okay, you got the guilty. Everybody go home. No more mobs. No more nothing.
Yeah.
And then later, a month or two later, boom. Yeah, that's a mistrial.
Yeah. Because I mean,
be real quiet. No one will know about it. They'll just disappear.
I mean, and that's the thing too. Like we talked about on the show, I think all three of us agree that this is going to get thrown out. I mean, it's going to eventually get thrown out because there's too many.
It should go to at least to an appeal.
Yeah, this is a very easy trial to appeal.
It's straight to an appellate.
Yeah, you know, I don't know.
Don't stop. Don't stop.
Now, whether or not it'll remain quiet depends on how activist our media is. And
sure.
Our media's pretty darn activist.
Well, the other thing too, though, but Orange Man's not in office anymore, so there's nothing to rage against right now.
They got their guilty verdict, so the story's done.
Yeah, story's done.
The narrative is finished.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they can foment outrage again by it being appealed and thrown out or whatever, you know.
Sure. Crazy. But yeah, I'm glad we had you on to talk about that because, man, there's a lot of misconceptions that are out there. And I get frustrated as a guy because it's like I'm not in law enforcement, so I can't speak firsthand on this stuff. I come from, I think I'm a smart person sometimes. I think that. I watch an obscene amount of true crime, which is disgusting. I don't know how, I love Jesus, but my most entertaining thing I can watch on TV right now, because I can't handle sports right now because they're super woke. Call me when college football comes around, then I'll start caring again. I can't watch the news because it's all fake. I literally look at my daughters every day and I'm like, yeah, we can't watch that. They're just lying. Like, I literally have to tell my daughters, I'm like, they lie about everything that's on there, which is absolutely crazy. So I can't watch that. I can't watch any commercial because I can't even watch freaking Batman. I was trying to watch Batman the other day and there was a, how do I say this, alphabet person part that happened on the show in front of my 6-year-old daughter, and she's like, ew, that's gross. And I'm like, and Charity about, ripped my face off, you know what I mean, for that situation, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't watch anything. Only thing I can watch is true crime. That's the only thing, anymore that isn't, doesn't have an agenda, if that makes sense. But even that sometimes has an agenda too, you know what I mean, with some of these outcomes. But, yeah, I mean, to me, I'm glad that we have some clarity from the inside because how many times are we told by these woke activists, blah, 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 well, we've got to have a conversation, and they never have a conversation with somebody with a differing opinion, ever.
Well, the funny thing is, some of them do, and there's great videos out there because some of these actual liberal activists will actually go through, what's the first thing we always say? Well, come through the training. Come do this. Yeah. And every now and then, one of them will do it.
Nice.
And inevitably, they realize real quick, I was wrong. There's just a lot of things people don't realize.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't think about things like the OODA loop and reaction time and what the actual physiology of the brain is in responding to an incident. They don't know all of this. And the funny thing is, they shouldn't. Okay, I call the electrician over to fix something. I'm not standing behind him going, "Oh, no, you don't need to touch that wire. You need to touch the other one." And why are you turning the fuse box off, dude? I need power in my house. Don't turn my fuse box off. You can do it, around it. You don't do that. But in law enforcement, everybody does.
Sure.
Everybody just wants to just automatically assume they know how to do everything in the job. But there's so much science and so much behind it that people don't know, and they shouldn't have to. But now they want to.
Yeah.
So let's educate people.
Amen.
One of the things you had talked about earlier, and it is kind of funny, and we had discussed this a little bit at your house, was the whole shoot 'em in the leg narrative. And even going back, several years, 3-4 years, you hear people constantly say this in every shooting.
Yep.
Okay. So first off, let's address this. Police officers nowhere in the country shoot to kill, unless it's a hostage situation. Okay. And they have a clear headshot, and you're aiming for the fatal T because it's going to disconnect the brainstem from the brain, and you're doing that to end an immediate threat, because everybody in law enforcement knows that just because you shoot somebody in the chest doesn't mean they're immediately going to fall. Again, Hollywood. Let's go watch Expendables real quick.
Yeah.
Every shot you see in Expendables is over-exaggerated. But people think that's what guns do to you because they've seen it so much in movies.
Yeah.
No, man,
they just think, oh my God.
He shot him with a shotgun. He flew across the room.
Right?
That's real.
That's why I carry a guitar case everywhere. But, they don't understand all of this stuff. And so police officers don't shoot to kill. And that's the first thing. Shoot him in the leg. You shot to kill him. No. We shot center mass to stop the threat.
Yeah.
There are countless shootings where police officers shoot somebody in the chest multiple times and they live. That happens
50 Cent. Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's the first thing to deal with is you shoot center mass to stop a threat, and just because you're shooting them in the chest doesn't mean they're going to die.
Yeah.
Okay? The first thing you do is render aid after you shoot them. After you shoot somebody, you put them in handcuffs, and then you render aid.
Oh,
you
don't
put blood clot on
cocaine
there.
on them?
Sometimes. Sometimes. Depends on the case.
That's a joke, everybody.
It's a
That's
joke.
a joke.
It's a joke. It's a joke. Everybody knows it's crack. But anyway, so the shooting in the leg. A leg is a moving body part. People don't stand still.
It's hard to hit.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a moving body part. It's very hard to hit. Can you hit it? Yeah, absolutely. Are you probably going to miss it? Probably. Because the second part of that is the physiology of the human body. Stress, adrenaline, all that gets you amped up. I don't care who you are. It gets you amped up. And so even these guys who go to the range every day that are not cops, they're like, well, I shoot every day, and I could make that shot to his knee. Really, guy? Did you just fight the guy? Did he have a gun? Was he shooting back at you? Did you have 20 other people in the area?
Yeah.
You're shooting paper on a range. Don't come at me until you've been in a stressful environment.
Yeah.
And so the whole leg thing is never going to fly, because when you are in a stressful environment, your shooting is about 5 times bigger than what it would be in a static environment. So if you normally shoot from 10 yards, let's say you have a group the size of a baseball, okay? Not a bad shot. If you're in a shooting, that's going to be about 5 times bigger. So now you're looking at a basketball size, okay? And so when you have that, you look at somebody's leg, okay? Yes, if I'm shooting a group the size of a baseball, that's going to hit their thigh. Let's hope it misses the femoral, because they're going to die if you hit the femoral artery. But let's not get into that either, because people don't want to hear that. Now you put a basketball in front of their leg, that's a lot of room for missed shots that people are going to be accountable for. Now, what's a good case of a missed shot in a good shooting hitting somebody else, and now somebody's accountable? Breonna Taylor.
Yeah.
Okay? And people don't want to look at facts. Was that a bad situation? Yeah, it was. Was the situation where the cop shot the dude because she thought she had a taser, was that bad? Absolutely it was. A lot of agencies do what's called transition drills, where you're going from taser to gun, and it is very unfortunate that stuff happens. But to say it's not going to is just impossible.
Yeah.
To err is human. We are all human.
Yeah.
Should we make mistakes? In a real world, no.
Yeah.
But in this real world that I live in, people do make mistakes. The problem you have here is like the Mike Brown case and many others like it. You have this narrative that fits what people want to be angry about. So they get angry about it, and then when the facts come out that don't support it, they move on to the next one to see if it gains traction.
Yep.
And so they just bounce from case to case to case to case to case. And now, fast forward several years, people still see that one case as a bad cop that did a bad thing that was fueled by race.
Yep.
That's all they see.
Yeah.
And so now all these incidents get piled into one
Yep.
jumbled ball of mass
Yep.
that get overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the goal, though. I mean, that's the goal of these socialist, jackals,
Obfuscation.
is to literally create the story. Don't stick around to see if it's true or not. Move on to the next
Doesn't
thing.
matter if it's true.
It really doesn't.
Well, they don't believe in truth.
Yeah.
They're postmodernists. They don't believe in truth. There is no truth. There's only my truth.
Yeah.
And your truth. And we're in a constant struggle over the domination of truths.
Oh, by the way, Epstein still killed
Yeah.
himself.
Epstein
That's true.
definitely killed himself, but
Yeah. And so they're waging war on our truth,
Sure.
on our conservative truth, which is really the truth.
Conspiracy.
Yeah.
What's that?
Conspiracy.
Yeah, exactly.
Conspiracy.
Well, yeah, that's what you do. You label your enemy, and you
Make them look
to
like
use
they're
their
criminals.
term, you otherize them,
Yep.
and then and then they build up this ball of obfuscation so that their truth will be dominant because they don't believe in actual truth.
Yep. Yeah. So speaking of truth, I gotta get to this because I don't want to forget this for the show. We all happen to live in the great state of Florida, and that's all we'll say.
Mhm.
But I have to know what your best Florida man story is, apprehending somebody or whatever. Florida man on the beat, because I gotta feel like as a as a protector of the law on the mean streets here in Florida, you've had to see some good ones. Like give me one good Florida man story to lighten it up, because I gotta know. I gotta know.
I think probably the best Florida man story I had, that I have, was somebody called in one night and said this guy was breaking into cars at an AutoZone. Okay, so I'm literally right around the corner, blackout, pull into the front of AutoZone, and sure enough, I see a guy hitting a window to one of the cars. And so AutoZone, they basically all AutoZones have little cars out there that are for the employees to drive during the day if they're making calls somewhere, but then they leave them there overnight.
Yeah.
And it's one of those cars. I see two of the cars have busted windows, and he's working on the third. So I jump out, order the guy to come around to me. He walks around the side of the car, and he's wearing a white, like a button-up. I'm pretty sure it was like a Cracker Barrel button-up with a Cracker Barrel apron and nothing else. Nothing else. Yeah. Laughing in the wind, barefooted, bare-butted. Yeah.
Did he
Get him in handcuffs. Call for an ambulance because he's sitting there bleeding from all the glass.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm sitting there talking to the guy who's obviously on drugs. And like, dude, what are you doing, man? He's like, I'm here for my free car. I'm here for my free car. And I'm like, I would like a free car too. Where can I get me one of these?
Oh my
He's like,
gosh.
I'm here for my free car. That's all he keeps saying. I'm here for my free car. I'm here for my free car. What? So I'm sitting there. We get him checked out by the fire department, and I'm taking pictures of the car because you got to document it for the case. And I get to the back of the car, and I take a picture, and I realize on the back of the car is a sticker. It's got a cell phone with a circle and a line through it, as in like no cell phone. And above it, it says, cell phone, free car.
Oh,
So it's
my
phone,
gosh.
free car. He sees the sticker, says free car, and so he starts shattering the window because he wants his free car.
Oh my
And he was butt naked from the waist down.
Listen,
So
man.
I think,
Just wanted his free car.
He's got a
That's
case.
great.
He's got
Yeah.
a case. you
yeah,
know?
I was like, hey.
He knew he was naked.
That
He
one
needed
always.
to get in that car.
Oh
to
my-
stay warm in a hot Florida summer.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was probably my greatest
I needed to hear that.
Florida
man.
man story.
So he's just. Where did he even come from? Did he ever find out where he came from? Or
I have no idea.
Just...
No idea. And he was not coherent enough to actually have a conversation beyond "I want my free car." So, but definitely drugs, no alcohol. I mean, it was definitely drugs.
Yeah, he's just. Oh man, that's wild, brother. What do you guys have for Bart? I had to hear a Florida man story. I have to hear one. I had to hear one of the show, man.
For sure.
You had a good one before the show too. But go ahead.
So I have a question for you, Bart. Have you seen some of the? I've seen this on some of the news in some places. All this defunding the police stuff, and the issue with that is also hiring new police officers. Because these two little things go hand in hand. If you're going to defund the police, who's going to work for you?
Well, the thing is, the whole defund the police thing. Hold on just a second.
You good?
The defund the police thing is basically they're going to want to take money away from cops, from agencies, and put that spending somewhere else.
Yeah.
So then it's going to be down to each agency to trim the fat off somewhere. And so you're not going to trim fat off of hiring because you have to have cops. You're not going to trim fat off the salary because you're not going to get people to lower salary. You may not get a raise for 5 years, but they're not going to cut cops' pay. That's not going to happen. So you're going to affect training. Okay, training is going to be one of the first things to go. So, for example, if I want to go to an advanced interview and interrogation class that costs a lot of money, I mean, this is the classes they teach the FBI and all that. So it costs quite a bit of money. Well, now I'm going to get denied that. So it's going to make me less of an effective detective. All the cops that are on the street that are wanting to get that advanced training and want to do all this stuff, now the agency's going to say no. You're going to take a class in-house that's free or nothing at all. And so, you're also going to have cars. We're not getting any new cars. We're just going to run these old ones into the dirt. That's where the money's going to get shaved off of. It's not going to cut back on other things that people think it's going to. So the whole defund the police movement itself is ridiculous. And then if you look at a lot of those movements, I think there's God, it's been so long. I think there's 8 things that they want to see changed in law enforcement. But when you look at those 8 things, basically every agency already does 6 of them.
Yeah.
And that's already policies in place. Some of them, the ones that aren't policies are because they are so out there in left field that it'll never happen. Like people saying fire warning shots. That's the only thing I've ever heard that's dumber than somebody saying shoot them in the knee. You're not going to fire a warning shot ever.
Yeah.
Where the hell is that bullet going to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You shoot it up in the air. It's not going to outer space to join Elon Musk's satellite.
What you do is
It's gonna come back.
you interchange blanks with live rounds.
Yeah, there we go. Have the first one a blank.
Exactly.
Did you see where they were trying to send social workers to the incidences instead of police officers?
Yeah, that worked out so well.
And here's the thing. To a certain extent, let's play devil's advocate.
Yep.
Here, okay. They expect cops to be everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to be an expert marksman. You got to be an expert driver. You got to be an expert counselor. You got to be an expert lawyer.
Yep.
You have to be everything. Okay?
Doctor.
But they do send us to some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's who deals with crazy people.
Sure.
And the thing is, you look at crazy people. What happens to them is they get Baker acted.
Yep.
There's only 3 people that Baker act to somebody: a judge, a doctor, or a cop. That's it. So do I want to go to all these crazy calls that are clearly not criminal? No, absolutely not. So you want to send a civilian out there to handle that? I'm okay with that. But the problem is, these people are crazy.
Yeah.
And they can hurt somebody. I have a very good friend of mine who was involved in a shooting in a different state, not in Florida. He goes to this call because dude's acting a little crazy. I mean, it's the same call. Hey, dude's acting a little crazy. Goes over there, knocks on the door. Dude throws the door open and immediately comes out with 2 butcher knives.
Jeez.
He didn't, he's not in a mental state to know the police are coming. He
Yeah.
was attacking the first person he saw.
Yeah.
And that guy ended up losing that fight. because, like most times when you bring a knife to a gunfight, you lose.
Yep.
And he lost that fight. But you know, is that going to happen to every case? No. And so everything you see in the media is about perception, and they do a phenomenal job of showing the perception they want to show.
Yeah.
And the thing is, in a situation like that, you're going to have a ton of successful cases where a civilian social worker goes out and handles the situation, and they'll focus only on that. That's what the media is going to tell you.
Yeah.
See, in this instance, you know, it's working phenomenally. Well, in those same situations, a police officer would have got the same result.
Yeah.
And that's what the media is not going to tell you.
Yeah.
They're just going to show the positive in it. So, yes, I do see it as a good thing. It frees the police up to actually focus on criminal activity. So certain aspects of that, I don't mind. Crazy people need help. The worst thing Florida ever did was do away with long-term institutions.
Yes.
Because now we take our crazy people, we Baker Act them, and 72 hours later, they're out on the street again with a shot, a happy juice in their butt. That's good for 30 days. And then after 30 days, it wears off, and they're in worse shape than they were before we ever took them in.
Exactly.
So Florida has its own issue. And now, on a completely different tangent, mental illness is a big issue in this country that everybody overlooks.
Yes.
And it's a lot of the driving factors of what you see of bad encounters with law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody asks, why did that person get to the way they were?
Sure.
Was there some kind of medication they're on that triggered their episode?
Or was there
a
no
lot of these
medication that triggered their episode?
Right. You know, a lot of these kids that are put on ADHD medicine that alters their brain, and they're not ADHD. They're not ADD. They don't have these issues, and doctors are just writing prescriptions left and right
Yep.
on mind-altering drugs, and then fast forward 3 years, this kid's shooting up a school.
Yeah.
You know, it's there's a lot of issues with mental illness that I'm not going to go into.
No, you're
It's
good.
not kind of what we're discussing, but, you know, ultimately, to get back to it, there are certain situations where I don't mind a civilian responding out, but the problem is you're dealing with crazy people, and they don't think rationally.
They're trying to get free
So,
cars, brother.
you're-
They're trying to get free cars.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
free cars, baby. You're going to have social workers get hurt.
Yeah. That totally makes sense.
It's at the end of the day, and
And the social worker is not usually carrying enough to defend themselves.
Yeah. 100%.
most of them work for agencies that won't allow them to carry anything for protection. So
It's crazy. My man had an amazing question before, and I really wanted to bring this up because we happen to be conservatarians on this show. I'm probably, you're probably more libertarian, would you say?
I mean, I'm just there are arguments that are presented that intrigue me, and I want to explore them
I like
more.
it. I like it.
So,
Dusty keeps us kind of grounded. You know, Dusty's a grounded guy. I'm a little bit more the conspiratorial, crazy Alex Jones returning the freaking frogs gay type of person. So
I don't like
just
them
kidding.
putting chemicals in the water
Look it
that
up.
turn the
But anyways,
frogs gay. Do you
like,
understand
hit
that?
him with that question. I really like that before
okay,
the show.
so we touched on the subject multiple times, like you know, body cams and accountability. You know, the civilian board reviewing body cams, et cetera, et cetera. I believe, as a conservative, that when it comes to the police, we have to hold almost conflicting ideas in tension. In that the police provide a valuable service and risk their lives doing so, and are heroes. But at the same time, the state has a monopoly on force. And
on what?
a monopoly on force. And in situations of unjust laws and so on and so forth, the police will be the ones enforcing those things, you know? Do you have any... What are your thoughts on that, on those ideas?
My thoughts are the thoughts of my own, in no way related to any agency in the state of Florida, or they're not the views of the state of Florida. Let me just throw that out there from the beginning.
Preface.
Okay? Let me preface that with, we all took an oath to uphold the Constitution. And if there's a law that's unconstitutional, we took an oath to not uphold that law.
Yep.
I will never take somebody's gun. Plain and simple. If Biden wants to enact right now, we're doing a mandatory buyback on ARs. Good luck. There have been several, so in law enforcement, basically, that would come down to the sheriff. Each sheriff of each county has the authority over that county. They're the chief law enforcement officer of that county. What they say goes. And every time this stuff comes up, you have countless sheriffs automatically come out and say, yeah, we're not doing that. It's unconstitutional. Not going to do it. Good luck to you. So when you look at stuff like that, who is responsible for enforcing that? Like you said, that power gets divvied up. You're not going to see ATF going around door to door knocking to say, sir, we need to come into your house and see if you have guns.
Yeah, they don't have.
You need to turn them over. That's not going to happen. You're not going to see that. What's going to happen is it's going to come down to, there's an AR-15 ban. Nobody's allowed to have it. Okay. Cool story, bro. You check a guy, he's, convicted of armed robbery 3 times. He's a convicted felon 3 times over and been to prison twice. And you go in his house and you see an AR-15. Guess what? That guy's going to jail and his AR-15 is getting confiscated. Is it because he's got an AR-15? No, it's because he's a felon and he can't own any firearm.
Yep.
That guy's AR is getting taken, along with every other gun. But I go into Ray's house because his neighbor's crazy and I see an AR-15 in the corner. I'm not taking Ray's gun. It's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So now, here's where the problem comes in. And you mentioned both. And that's body cams. The problem will come up in a situation like that where that AR-15 is on a body camera and the cop chooses not to do anything about it. Now he's violating a policy or a statute, and it's whether or not the agency's going to go after him for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go any further on that one.
Sure.
I don't want to shoot myself in the foot on anything further than that. But to your answer, I think depending on what we're talking about, I think a lot of sheriffs are going to be outspoken and say, no, that's ridiculous. That's absurd. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's going to be up to each deputy. Are there going to be cops, police officers, deputies out there who are over rambunctious and don't use common sense and will confiscate that AR-15? Probably so. Absolutely. I can tell you that's going to be a small majority. There is a thin blue line. We do communicate all across this country through different channels to see how things are going. And those topics have come up amongst private law enforcement groups. And the majority rule is basically the same. I'm not enforcing something that's unconstitutional.
Yeah.
I signed up for that to defend that Constitution because I love this country. It's the greatest country in the world.
Yeah, man.
It's got a bunch of outspoken idiots in it right now. But it's still the greatest country in the world. And it always will be. Because, you're going to have good patriots that stand up and do what's right. And I'm not saying a call to arms, let's rally the troops. No. It's about education. It's about, common sense and logic and making rational decisions, not emotional decisions. Emotional decisions get people into trouble. Look at the Capitol building.
Yep.
Emotional. 100% emotional. Was it a coup? Hell no. But a lot of people made bad decisions.
Yeah.
And that's it. So.
True. I like it, man. I appreciate that answer because I feel like, the knee-jerk reaction of conservatives are, these cops are they're gonna take all of our, they're gonna blah blah blah, and then I'm like, well, 2 years ago, Virginia tried to enact that AR ban, and 20,000 people with AR show up on the grounds of the Virginia Capitol, and they asked the sheriff, "What are you gonna do about it?" They're like, "Nothing." They're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah,
Absolutely not.
They haven't broke the law.
Everything they're doing is completely legal.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that makes me feel better, especially like
Well, it also is good to know that that people in law enforcement are thoughtful of these issues.
Well, I mean, it does affect us to a certain extent. So.
Sure
Yeah.
thing. But
I'm sure privately a lot of police officers have their own collections.
Well, that's
I don't know
true.
what you're
And,
talking
and,
Exactly.
I don't know.
and the Second
have
Amendment isn't
a
the
video
only
game
issue that could ever be, you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's always going to be others.
But that is a prime example, and it's one that's talked about often. It's just
And again, it's a knee-jerk reaction.
yeah.
Speaking of games, though, we got gamers here. They're pretty nerdy over here, Bart. So they're about that game life, man. They're on the.
This guy talks like he's not one of us.
Oh, we've had conversations.
Oh
You
yeah,
can't
we
fool
have.
them.
We've had so
Apex.
so I was thinking about this too because I happen to be a Dr. Disrespect fan. I like watching his stuff, online and stuff. And I feel like, do you think that video games in themselves give people a skewed reality of what actually happens in the moments that you guys got to deal with? Because I mean, there's a completely different reality than dropping in a war zone and popping some cats and then, oh hey, you get to respawn when you die. Like it's not, like it's about education. Like, how do we tell people, like, this is not real life. Like, this is not the real situation. This is, because I feel like that kind of gets into this conversation where you have massive liberal logic, where you have, all these people that are trying to tell you, shoot the leg, and, well, I can do it on Modern Warfare really easy. It's like, no, bro, it's not real. Is there anything else, like, perception-wise, that you want to get out there? Because one of the perceptions that I hear all the time is that all cops are racist and they're all hunting black people down and blah, 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 blah. Which is weird because you've been in my house and you haven't arrested me once. So I'm confused as a person that hears that rhetoric all the time. What?
He lost his headphones.
Did I lose? Like,
Yeah, I lost my headphones on that one.
no, you're good. You're good. Like, we keep hearing that every cop's a racist, even those Mexican ones that happen to pull
even the
people over.
Mexicans.
And they're murderers and whatever. Would you say that most people, and again, I'm not going to say that every cop is perfect. I mean, I don't even think you would say that by any means, but the vast majority of people that get in law enforcement, would you say that they're in there for the right intentions to help the public and serve and protect? Is that your thought process? Okay.
Absolutely. For the large majority, people become cops for two reasons. Number one, they want to help people, and number two, they're adrenaline junkies. The standard question or the answer for why did you want to become a cop is, I want to help people. And then you laugh and you say, okay, what's the real reason you wanted to be a cop? I like to drive fast. It's true. Okay, cops. We drive cars. We go to the law enforcement vehicle operations center and we drive really fast around cones and we do all this training. We get to do a lot of cool stuff with guns. You got to be an alpha adrenaline junkie to be a cop.
Yep.
Plain and simple. I think a lot of people overlook that to a certain extent. But yes, the majority of people that you see actually legitimately care about helping people. I mean, you can't go through Instagram or Facebook and not hear the good cop stories of, somebody giving a homeless guy shoes or, buying somebody food, buying groceries. I see them all the time. Where somebody shows up for a shoplifter, realizing they're not stealing steaks, they're not stealing alcohol, they're stealing diapers and baby wipes and baby formula, and the cop ends up buying all the baby supplies for them. That stuff happens all the time. It doesn't get reported on mainstream media. It gets reported on certain social media channels if you're a part of those type social media platforms.
Yeah.
But the good stories are out there, and they always will be, regardless of the all cops are bad mentality.
Sure.
One of the things that I keep seeing recurring in law enforcement groups is remember why you started. In times like this, remember why you started. It's easy to get caught up in the, I'm so sick of the public hating me. I'm so sick of everybody lying about us. Well, to heck with that. Remember why you started. And I know this this podcast is usually a little more on the religious side than we have been tonight, but I'm a Christian first.
Amen.
And I'm a husband second, and a father second, and a cop third. And every decision I make when I'm out there, I want to be able to answer to God and to answer to my family, because they're important. And if at the end of the day, if I can look at my father and I can look at my family and be proud of what I've done, then I've had a successful day.
It's awesome.
And so a lot of people feel that way in law enforcement. And the running joke to that is, my goal for today is not show up on YouTube. That's the goal for the day. I just don't want to be on YouTube.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that's the joking side of it. But really,
Sure.
Most people get into this to really make a difference and be the change in the community. But the thing is, as good of a person as I am, I've had to slam people on the ground. I've had to pepper spray people. I've had to tase people. And I am a talker. Hold on just a second. I got to adjust.
You're good. It happens.
I'm a talker. But, one of the things, I know this is going on along, one of the things that you hear right now, one of the buzzwords is de-escalate. Why didn't the cop de-escalate? Well, that's another misconception. There's a time to de-escalate, and there's a time to engage. And if the time is to engage, the point of de-escalation is gone. It doesn't matter if you've been there for an hour, if you've been there for 3 seconds. The Columbus, Ohio is a perfect example because you heard that a lot in there. Well, the officer should have de-escalated the situation. When he wasn't there for 20 minutes,
Yes.
he got out of his car, she had a knife,
Yeah.
he engaged her.
Yep.
There's a time and place for it, and a lot of people don't realize that because they like to Monday morning quarterback, and they like to say, well, what could we have done differently? But what people fail to realize is sometimes a deadly use of force is the answer. Okay? And deadly use of force does not mean the person dies. It means there's a strong case of death or serious bodily injury that's going to happen from this.
Yep.
There's a good chance they might die, but it doesn't say you're going to shoot to kill them. People can't wrap their head around it.
Yeah.
And my argument would be, it's not your job to wrap your head around it. It's my job. I don't mind if, a civilian board wants to make sure I'm doing things right, but, one of the sayings that I've always enjoyed was, you sleep like the civilian, you sleep in bed peacefully at night because violent men stand ready to do violence on your part. And I think we've gotten away from that.
Yeah.
We try to give this mental picture of a police officer being a kind, loving, soft-handed
Andy Griffith.
person.
Andy Griffith.
Andy Griffith.
Yeah.
And there's a time and place for that. I'm a firm believer in that. But there's also a time to not be kind and gentle.
Judge
There's a
Dredd.
time to be violent. Yes.
wouldn't go
And
that
one of the things that, when I was in the academy in another state, one of the things they told us, if you're going to have to use force on somebody, there are 3 things that you need to have: speed, surprise, and violence of action. And that's the 3 things that need to go into it. You want to surprise people. You don't want to be in the UK saying, "Sir, do I have permission to arrest you?"
Yeah.
Why is that? OODA loop. OODA loop is basically your reaction time. You got about 1.6 seconds to think about something. And so it's like observe, orient, develop a plan. So like you see something and it actually takes about a half a second before you to realize that you've seen something. Then it takes about a half a second for you to process that. It takes you about a half a second to come up with a plan and a half a second to execute. It's actually 0.4 seconds roughly, which comes up to 1.6 seconds. Every person's slightly different. Everybody's not exactly 1.6 seconds, but that's the OODA loop. And it was an Air Force general or Air Force colonel or somebody that came up with that. It was for fighter pilots to be able to be better fighter pilots. It's basically having a plan. If you have a plan, then you're already ahead of the curve. Whereas if you don't have a plan at all, now you're behind the 8 ball. Now it's taking a second and a half to come up with your plan. Okay, so that's why people say have a plan to kill everybody in the room. That's where that mentality comes from. Because if you have a plan to deal with the terrorists jumping out of the car on your traffic stop with an AK-47, you're ready to handle anything that comes at you. You got to have a plan for everything. And so, action versus reaction. It's the same mentality. I could give you an airsoft gun, Ray, and have you point it straight at me like this, and I can have an airsoft gun down to my side. And I can tell you, when you see me go to move, you shoot, and we'll see who gets shot first. And guess what? You're going to lose. if we do that several times over and over, eventually you'll get to a point to where you actually shoot me first because you become expecting of it. You know what you're looking for, and now you can react faster because you have that plan.
Nice.
But if you don't have that plan, I will shoot you first every day of the week, even though you have a gun pointed at me.
Yeah.
Now you take all that into context. This is where you see the video of the person pointing a cell phone at a cop, and they end up getting shot by the cop. And then everybody says he was unarmed. He only had a cell phone in his hand. Well, Ray, how many times did you point a cell phone at somebody?
Yeah.
Like a gun? Never. It doesn't happen.
No.
Never. Yeah.
Okay, so if somebody points a cell phone at you like a gun, you can't blame the cop for shooting.
Yeah.
But society wants to blame the cop for shooting them.
Yeah.
They want to say, well, you should have seen that gun. If you're responding to a call, and this is what gets overlooked, most of these times, the cop is responding to a call of an armed person, somebody with a gun. So in the cop's mind, he's already thinking, he's got a gun. If I see a gun, I got to shoot him. Because that's the OODA loop. That's the action versus reaction. Because if you don't have that plan, now you're going to get shot.
Yep.
That's him.
And that's one portion that society doesn't see. They just see, well, the cop should be trained enough to have seen it was a cell phone.
Yeah.
They should have been trained enough to see it was a wallet. Okay? And there are some horrible videos out there of cops doing really bad things. There's a video of a state trooper that ends up shooting a guy for getting his wallet out of his car. And it's horrible because the trooper says, I need to see your ID. And the guy says, it's in my car. And he goes to get it out of his car, and the trooper ends up shooting him.
Yeah.
That's a bad shoot all day long.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have the video present, and I would suggest you not watch it because it's difficult. But there are some situations that are bad shoots. I don't think every cop incident is automatically justified.
Sure.
I don't want to come across that way. But the thing that actually goes into the decisions that law enforcement make is all based off of training. It's all based off of studies. You know, even like the Michael Brown, and I can't remember the cop's name, Darren something.
Yeah, I know you're talking about that.
Even that situation, you know, he had every right to shoot Michael Brown.
Yeah.
All day long.
Yep.
But Monday morning quarterback, we always had a saying when I was trained in another state, feet first. Feet first. If you're in a car, feet first, which is more in tune to a traffic stop. You pull somebody over, your feet need to hit the ground before theirs. If you see their door come open, your feet need to be on the ground because there's no reason for them to get out of the car.
Yeah.
Yep.
He should have never been in that car when Michael Brown approached him because you're trapped, and it's death. It's a death wish to stay in your car because now you've given them access to do anything, and you have very limited movement.
Yeah.
So even that situation, was that a justified use of force? I'm not going to say was that a good shoot. I'm not going to say was that a good kill. Was that a justified use of force? Absolutely. What could we have done different? That's how we in law enforcement see every situation in every event. We have trainings on it every year. Citizens don't realize that. The activists that are calling for defund the police don't realize. We analyze that stuff, and we learn from that. When an officer dies in the line of duty, the best thing we can do to honor him is learn from it.
Yeah.
To see what happened to cause him to die so that me and my brothers and sisters don't go through that same thing. If we can learn from it, we will.
Yep.
And people don't realize that we do that. And we absolutely do that with every incident.
It's awesome. Man, I want to just say, one, on behalf of this entire show, thank you for doing this show for us, because this has been informative. My brain, what's the joke? Like every time you learn something, you get a wrinkle in your brain. Have you ever heard that before?
Yeah.
I had a few extra wrinkles today. I'm not going to lie to you. I learned a lot OODA loop. I did not know that, and I'm learning that right now, which is awesome. But Bart, I appreciate you for taking the time to be on the show today because I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
This is super informative. This is absolutely one. This is what do the kids call it, a banger. We're gonna have to. It's a banger, brother. But yeah, we got to put this one up because this is awesome, and I think conversations like this make a world of difference to bridge the gap between let's say real truth and ignorance. And I think you just knocked it out of the park. And you need to show up on more shows, bro. We got to get you on more shows, man, to bring
Absolutely,
the
I will
information, man.
definitely do it. Find out
it.
from people. I'm sure you're going to have people reach out. They may have questions. Just start writing down questions, and then
Boom.
when you get enough questions to want to do something else, just reach out. I'll be more than glad to come back on.
I
I'm
love
a
it, man.
talker.
How about next week?
Too soon,
I will
bro.
be good for it.
Too soon, bro. Come on, man.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Gosh,
have more
man.
questions.
I know.
Write them down, Dusty.
Write them down, Dusty. Next time. Yeah. Come on, Dusty.
Yeah.
Gosh. Guys, Plausible Foolishness has been an amazing show. We appreciate every single one of you for watching. We appreciate all of you that were watching on good old Clapper. We love you over on Clapper, but dude, we'd love you better over at twitch.tv.
You missed half the conversation.
I mean, yeah, listen, you don't even, you're only hearing our responses to the gold. You didn't hear the gold that's going on over there with Bart. The wrinkles, man. Gotta get the wrinkles, man. For dumb guys like me, I've got to get more wrinkles every day. But we really appreciate Bart for hopping on the show today. Remember to follow us everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, Twitch. Where the heck are we? We're everywhere, right?
Podcast,
everywhere.
Google, Apple.
I mean, yeah, we're expanding faster than the universe itself, but we appreciate everybody for hopping on today. We appreciate hearing from the bad boy Bart himself. We appreciate that today, which was awesome. And listen, Ivory Tower, the 6'9". The 6'9". What'd you call him? The 6'9" what?
6'9" and oh so fine.
The 6'9". Oh so fine.
Ivory Tower.
Ivory Tower. Close us down, bro. What do we got?
Yeah, again, we are the two kings of the Rube Empire, where the people are free, the taxes are voluntary, and we serve freshly roasted liberal logic every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on twitch.tv/plausibleFoolishness, YouTube, Facebook Live, and anywhere you get a podcast. Peace out.
See you next week, guys.